up, everybody? Welcome back to Plain Jane Cars, and this is a Plain Jane Cars podcast. We got a special guest today, an encyclopedia information. Joel, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey there. Good to be on, Charles.
Man, thanks for being here. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Joel. So, me and Joel were both Jehovah's Witnesses firstly, so that's how we met originally. But beyond that, we have a love for cars. And I found Joel has an encyclopedic mind when it comes to cars. Would you say your preference, or you lean more more toward domestics or imports?
More towards the imports. I guess Asian imports, but European imports too.
Sure.
But I started digging into the domestics as I got older.
So JDM, you're a JDM guy.
Yeah.
If somebody asked me, I would say you're a JDM guy.
Yeah.
When we started talking about Hondas, because I went through a Honda phase like many of us do, and he started talking about engine codes, I said, oh yeah, nah, he's real deal. We were talking about B18, B16, all that stuff. It's like, we're going deep. And one of the things I want to do, we always want to hear about everybody's car stories, people's car histories. Joel has a car history, just like the rest of us. So tell us, what was your first car, Joel?
Well, I started off kind of slow. I had a 97 Altima first off.
That's not bad, actually. Was the 97 the J20? Was that when they had the Infinity, like it was the slant back?
It looked like a J20.
Yeah, it was that J. Remember when I'm talking about the Infinity?
Mm-hmm.
The first generation. Okay, no, that to me, that Ultima, that's when Ultimas were cool.
Mm-hmm. K24.
Yeah, the K24. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I don't think that's starting out slow.
Well, I guess it's just, it started off slow and stayed slow.
You see, you didn't pick up momentum.
You know what I've got now, and it stayed slow.
It's transportation. What made you become interested in cars?
I think it was just a childhood interest in machinery, that kind of thing, and being, my daddy's an engineer, so it's around a lot of machinery, and then of course being an '80s kid, I had Knight Rider.
Yes.
The A-Team.
Yes.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yes.
Back to the Future.
Fall Guy.
All these iconic cars.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, Fall Guy.
Yes.
Can't forget Colt.
Yeah.
But I had all these iconic vehicles that I just watched on TV. That was all I watched, and I just loved those things. Me too.
I think it seems like most people that get hooked on cars, that happens at a young age. And I think it's every facet of it. It's like it's the how it works, how cool it looks. I think some of it is when you grow up too. I think the period in which we grew up in the 80s, me and Joel are the same age, I think there's so many cool cars. And I think for a while it was overlooked because the boomers talk so much about their heyday, right? The muscle cars of the 60s and 70s. But I would take the 80s and 90s cars over the 60s and 70s any day. And that's just because that's when I grew up, but I love those cars.
And now that guys like us are in our prime, now you see Radwood. And so now we're going back. We're shining the spotlight back on those.
Yes. Yes, if you guys aren't familiar with Radwood is a show, an event, really. It's more like a cultural event more than just a car show. But it's all about cars from the 80s and 90s, showing love to the cars that we fell in love with, in our youth, really. And when you look at them, it's like, man, you can tell makers were really pushing themselves. OEMs were pushing themselves to be unique and to be different. Like, it wasn't homogenous. Oh, yeah, everything was different.
Yeah, they were just throwing the money in the. Hey, let's push it here. Go nuts with the styling.
And they went back to racing. A lot of people you got a lot of homologation cars in the 80s and 90s. Because when World Rally really picked up, so we got a little cool box flares from the 80s, all-wheel drive, the Quattro cars. I mean, there's so many cars from that period that are super, super, super cool.
And for a while, they were putting turbos on everything. Stuff that didn't really seem like it needed it, but it got a turbo.
You know what trips me out, Joel? That people now act like turbocharging is like modern technology. Mm-hmm. There was hardly a car maker in the 80s that didn't have something turbocharged.
Oh, yeah.
American, domestic, JDM, European, everybody had something turbocharged.
And see, folks got so upset when they were going to put the turbo 2.3 in the Mustang.
Remember?
That's
the SVO, right? Wasn't that the SVO?
Exactly.
Yeah.
hey guys, that's history.
Yeah.
That's already been done.
The Inozetek. Yeah, it's been
it was
way.
a 2.3.
It was the same thing. I remember they put that 2.3 turbo on a few things. It was interesting. I liked the Thunderbird of that period because I was a little different. And we called it the Thunder Chicken, but they called it, was it the Turbo Coupe? I can't remember exactly what they were for. It was a marketing term. My memory
maybe it was the Turbo Coupe because they also had a
supercharged one
with a.
They called that the Super Coupe.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. As you guys can tell, we're from the same generation. So one of the things we thought would be interesting and entertaining, and something I miss, is like cars that get killed by OEMs.
Hate to see it.
Hero cars, right? Like there's some cars where you're like, not that car. I think the one, and this isn't, me and Joel came up with a couple. We haven't shared our list with one another because we want to go through it and have genuine reactions. But to kind of set the table, to me, my dad had a 1987 Pontiac Fiero GT. That car, it's probably cliche to say it was before its time, but it was. They had so many issues with the previous generation. People would joke, brakes didn't work, catches on fire. And it had legitimate issues. They fixed all those issues, then killed the car.
Yeah.
It's like 2.8 liter, naturally aspirated V6. It's like 240 horsepower, I think it was, and maybe like around 280 foot-pounds, something like that. 210 foot-pound of torque. Don't quote me on that. I remember reading through. That's when I really fell in love with cars. And my dad got that because I thought my dad was corny until he got his Fiero GT, and it was a 5-speed. It's 5-speed if I remember correctly. Such a cool car.
My uncle had one, but it was the basic one.
Yes.
Without the body kit.
The straight body. Yeah. They had, if you remember the 80s cars, it was kind of, everything had a wide body on it. It wasn't quite a wide body, but it had a lot of cladding. That's what I call it. It had all the plastic cladding. But that car was so cool. And you couldn't tell me it wasn't fast. But anyway, so I wanted to go through our list of cars not only that we saw that would kill, but cars that we would bring back. Like if we had the ability to. And if OEM is listening to us, we have any influence, we say, hey, bring this car back. Here's why you should do it, and here's how you should do it. What's your first car, Joel?
Alrighty, first one. The 1970 through 1978 Ford Capri.
Yes.
This was called the Cologne Capri. It's made in Cologne, Germany.
It was the Mustang for Europe, essentially, right?
Yes.
That's what it was.
They loved that thing over there.
Yes.
And they're trying to sell the Mustang there now, but it's
not the same. It's not the same.
It's just too big for them.
Yeah.
But if the Capri could come back, they would love that.
What would you power it with?
Well, see, I'm a marketing guy, so I'm thinking about ways to make sure it can be convincing to push the project through.
Yeah.
What you do is you make sure it slots below the Mustang. Don't
right. You can't compete with that. That's right. That's your Halo car, right?
So what you do is use the EcoBoost 4 cylinders.
Okay.
First time when I came with this idea, the 1.6 was out. That would have been a real good choice for it.
Right.
For base engine. I guess the 1.5 now could work.
Sure.
Similar power, at least. Then you get the 2-liter. You start, getting in some.
Which we're talking about Europe,
there.
too. So that works for Europe, right? Mm-hmm. The 2-liter is perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the range topper, the big boy.
Yeah.
The 2.7 EcoBoost, the V6 twin turbo.
Yeah.
And see, there's even some heritage there because the Cologne Capri used a 2.7 NA6, so it's the same displacement.
That would be cool.
You
got the marketing lined up already.
Oh yeah,
you got to figure it out.
And so if you cut down the Mustang chassis, I'm not expecting them to get it down to 8.6 BRZ weight, but
no.
They might be able to do about 3,000 pounds. And, just think, 335 horsepower from a twin turbo 6, 3,000 pounds. It's going to do some damage.
Yeah, well, it'd be an amazing car. It'd be an amazing car. It's interesting that OEMs like Ford, they don't want to make cars, right? They want to make SUVs, but at least for the U.S. market. I'm not sure if that's metastasizing out to the European market because Ford has a long heritage in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And a strong heritage in Ford in Europe. So I like that pick. That's pretty esoteric, too. I didn't think you were going to start there being a JDM guy. Guys, I know Joel. Joel's JDM. His heart pumps JDM oil. So interesting to hear American manufacturer with a European distributed car, it's something you would bring back to Capri. All right.
I figure it could sell here, but it would definitely sell.
It would sell there. Yeah. Because there's the heritage there, right? You would get the people like us, people around that time that you could market that to directly as your weekend car, track car, daily kind of thing that would work, especially if you wanted a high power trim. I like that. You have a more well thought out list than I do. I can tell already. Which is good. You know what?
I want this stuff to happen.
Yes.
Please, Ford, if you're listening.
Like Ford, if you have any good sense, we can help you sell a few cars. There's 2 of them that will get sold, at least in this room. So my first pick, I'm a little bit disappointed now that I heard your first pick, and I want to change it. So I am going to change it on the fly. So I had 3 cars that I picked out. So I'm going to go first with the Acura Legend, the Honda Legend. Listen, the influence that car had culturally, that name, just the name, the 3.2 liter, the coupe, the dimensions of the car. Yes. You couldn't tell anybody it wasn't rear wheel drive. Like it looked so intimidating. And both generations, in my opinion. Go ahead.
It should have been rear drive.
It should have.
In fact, the engine was mounted longitudinal.
So if you guys don't know what that means, so the car was set up and designed with rear wheel drive proportions. The engine was mounted like pretty much all we can say rear wheel drive cars are, but they put a weird transmission on the side of it and made it front wheel drive, which totally makes sense for Honda. It makes sense. But even being a front wheel drive, it had everything that you could ask for, including a manual transmission.
Oh yeah. My dad was about that coupe. He liked that.
The coupe was both generations too. What was it? KA7. I hate doing chassis codes, but like the KA7, I think 8 was the second generation, which I'm referring to like 92 to 95, 91 to 95, something like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the first generation.
First gen was more angular, which I still think looks cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say both coupes look amazing to me. Both coupes look amazing. Both generations. And it had the 3.2 as a sidecar to that, the Acura Vigor, the Honda Vigor.
Yeah.
That was a cool 2.5 liter 5-cylinder. People don't even know that Honda made a 5-cylinder. Mm-hmm. And like you said, great names. Vigor, Legend, so cool. And they don't have to market it. It markets itself. How I would bring it back is I learn from what they learn their lesson from the Integra. Right? You can't take an FL5, put leather seats in it, and just slap an Acura badge on it and say, hey, we're bringing back the Integra. That didn't work. Mm-hmm. I think there are people that showed up with it in the car community because the Integra means so much to the JDM community, but especially people our age, maybe even people younger than us, because the Integra was around for a while. But I think they blew that one.
Yeah. I've got ideas on how to tweak it, make it work a little better, but they could have started off with a better,
lot stronger
foundation.
I think when you look at a lot of people, it's funny how in the moment when you look at when they bring Halo cars back, everybody always hates it. The Supra. I'm looking back now, 2 years, 2020 when the Supra came out, and I'm like, man, the Supra is a success.
Yeah, and I love the idea, and I was just glad it was back.
Yes.
And some folks had some other ideas of how to do it because they want it in-house, no BMW. Take the Lexus RC or take the Lexus LC, but they're all too heavy.
They're too heavy. It's the right car, and they partnered with the right person, and it's proven out. We were watching TX2K, which was recent. They're doing 7 seconds, 8 seconds. The A90s, they have done so much development on a platform that it is truly it's a Supra. I think everybody's over the whole. It's a BMW. I mean, I guess it's a meme. It's a joke, but I think people are over it. And not to get sidetracked in that, but I think my point was maybe the Integra over time, over the next couple of years, they come out with a few different versions. Maybe we see a coupe and they get it right. Mm-hmm. Maybe they do a GSR. Maybe they do a Type R. But if they do, they better do that right or there will be a revolt.
Well, Type R might be coming with Type R engine and some additional power, but I was really just hoping to see a Type S just stick that RDX drivetrain in there.
Sure. Can't go wrong.
270 horsepower SH all-wheel drive.
Yes.
Bump up the power a little bit.
Yeah, a little tune, right? Yeah.
There you go. Audi S3 competitor.
Yes.
That's what they need.
That's what they need. Honda, are you listening? What's the next on your list, y'all?
Okay, I had, it's hard to distill it down to one, but I started out with everyman entry.
Yeah.
Now I'm going a little upmarket.
Okay.
Okay, very upmarket.
Very upmarket. Okay, let's hear
We're
it.
going to Porsche.
Uh-oh, hold on now. Be careful. You're going to get me canceled. What Porsche you going to bring back?
928.
I agree. Cook.
It's almost too easy.
Yes.
Too easy.
Yes.
Cut the back doors off the Panamera. And you've got the shape.
It's the same thing.
That's all you do.
Isn't it funny how the 928, let's say during the 2000s, and the 944, people were like, it's not a real Porsche. Now, you look at 944s and 928s, they're like true collectors, like a 964, not on the same level as a 993 or 930s and all, but still, people appreciate them now. A 928, that would be interesting. So like a full size 911, like the 928, like it's way too big. It's not a Porsche.
It's a real GT.
It's a GT car.
Because they try to load up the 911. It's a sports car, but they try and load it up. They're trying to make it a GT. Stuff.
Yeah.
And pitch it against an 8 Series. The 911 doesn't have the room.
It doesn't. It's not a true GT. I mean, they want to make it is a GT. It is a GT. But like in the sense of a real Grand Tourer, it's not really a real Grand Tourer when you compare it, like you said, 8 Series, any of the Astons, like
Gran Turismo, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a Maserati. Yeah, it's not a real GT. I agree with that.
So make the 928, make that the full fat GT, and let the 911 get back to being a butt-kicking sports car.
Yeah.
Don't worry about loading it up with all the goodies. Just make it good. Not quite raw, but
right.
But good.
So but do you think isn't that the Cayman space though now? Or do you think the Cayman's getting too big? I shouldn't say Cayman, a 718, whatever you want to call it, Because that's still supposed to be the sports car for Porsche now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but it could almost be like a different kind of sports car. Obviously it's less expensive.
Yeah.
But it could be
You're 928, you're saying?
Maybe the Cayman could be a little more of the hardcore on a budget. 911 can be, the Corvette of
right.
Porsche.
Right. I mean, it has to be the halo. It has to be the flagship. It has to be nothing. I mean, it just finally put a 4-liter in the Cayman GT4, which took forever because we can't. And they figured out you actually can because you have an audience for both. People will buy both,
Because there's such a difference between the Cayman and
huge
911. I mean, the base 911 is over $100K now.
It is.
It starts at 101.
101. That's crazy when you think about it. Just a regular Carrera. Well, you can't say regular Carrera. Base. Just a base Carrera. Yeah. And you got a difference between a rear engine car and a mid engine. Or rear mid. Rear mid. So.
And so you can kind of keep the Cayman there as, upgrade for folks who still want something kind of club sporty like a Miata.
Right.
And
kind of like a spec race car. You can go out on the weekends.
Yeah.
And actually run spec races. Yeah.
But if you still want a little more daily drivability, you can still get the 911. But you take it on some back roads, it'll still show you a good time.
Yeah, get busy. I like that idea. So really, you can position it as a Panamera coupe.
Exactly.
Man, you kicking my butt on this list. I like that one. I'm not going to lie. I like that one. And it's easy. I don't think you have to twist arms to sell that. I mean, I don't think Porsche has to twist arms to sell anything. But I don't think you have to twist arms to sell it. There's an audience for that GT car.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like the Z, like the BMW Z, right? There are people that are going to buy that car. Convertibles, right? All of us that love sport cars, I don't want a convertible. Well, everywhere I look, I see convertibles, right? Because people buy convertibles.
And keep the 911 nice and low and sporty, and maybe guys get a little older, You
go up to
can't get down into the.
You need your 928
anymore. Yeah, they get the 928.
That's an excellent pick. Excellent pick. So my next pick, just to break it up, because I have 2 picks in the same manufacturer, Toyota MR2. But the 91 to 95. That round, bigger, because they tried the MR2 and it kind of flopped a little bit. And I could go on forever about some of these cars. The Mitsubishi 3000 GT, the Eclipse. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, look what they did with the Eclipse. But let me not get sidetracked. The Toyota MR2.
Boy.
Oh, my goodness. So it was a person I grew up around. He was a little older than me. He's my brother's age, so maybe 9 or 10 years older than me. And he had a 1992 Turbo. It was that dark blue, the metallic blue. It was so cool. And to see Toyota let that, and I mean, you could say the GR86 or whatever, right? They still have something in that vein, I think. But to me, it doesn't have the same cool factor that the MR2 did. And it's the reason why you still see MR2s around. When you go to a show, a JDM show, you're going to see an MR2. You go to some track events, there are people that put the case swap in them. Case swap the whole world, really. And the MR2s around because it's a timeless car, timeless look. And even I'm partial to the 91 and 95, but even the pre-95, the more angular looking one, it's kind of like when everybody was doing that look. Even that one's aged amazingly well to me. I didn't look up how much those cars weigh, but they can't be more than 2,500 pounds.
Oh, yeah, the first gens,
first gen.
They're maybe 2,300.
That's crazy.
And came up with a terrible swap idea. This is
for that generation?
Yeah.
What would you do?
3S GE, no turbo.
Really? A NA?
200 NA horsepower, about a 2-liter in that thing.
Oh, my goodness. That would be amazing.
Because people have done the turbo, but just think NA.
Screamer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That would be super cool. All right, what's next on your list? What you got? I'm bringing back the MR2 for sure, though.
Okay. Is this my bonus or extra?
Yeah, give me either one. Okay. You pick. This is kind of the bonus. We were going to do 2 cars. I have a bonus car. I would call this my bonus car.
Okay. Bonus for you. The Lancia Delta Integrale.
That's not a fair pick. That car is how would it look now? How would Lancia, because I'm not as familiar with the Lancia lineup right now. How would that look? Would you do box flares? It would have to be a wide, I mean, it would still have to have all the things the Lancia Integrale had, right?
Oh yeah, but I'm a platform hardware borrowing nut.
Yeah, you go into the parts bin. Yeah, you go into the parts bin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Alfa Romeo Giulietta.
Okay, I'm with you.
This was the basis for the platform of the Dodge Dart.
Yes.
That's
when FCA was still. Yeah. No, totally.
But instead used the hatchback, 5-door hatch.
Okay.
And just change the sheet metal. They can go boxy and still make it look a little retro if they want.
Right.
Alpha had a pretty good turbo engine for it. I think it was a 1.7.
1.7, yeah. Something odd. It was an odd number, yeah.
But if they can punch it up a bit, maybe see if they can get a 2-liter just to get something decent.
You would have to get the AMG. What's the new C45 motor? You would need that 2-liter. 2-liter turbo AMG. Like, it would have to be, I would think. But this is your build, please.
Yeah, something good like that.
Yes.
And then all-wheel drive, but they've got to make sure the differentials are nice.
Yes.
Because even in original form, I've seen the old ones driving around and drifting. Not handbrake drifting.
Yeah, but actually drifting. Yeah.
And that's no small feat for an all-wheel drive vehicle.
At all.
Something that old.
At all. Without exploding a diff or a transfer case, right?
But it just needs to be agile, and it needs to keep the iconic looks. But the platform's there. Hardware's there.
You just got to do it. Build it and market
just need some love, because right now I think they've only got one vehicle that's a bit like a smart car almost.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's disappointing. And sometimes when you think about, I was a fan of Pontiac growing up, Oldsmobile. It really shows that we're old.
Yes.
Because you see cars like makers, makers of cars. Like, how are they not around anymore when it was so popular? So, I don't know. There's a lot of them out there that's like that, actually. I love Saturn, too, believe it or not. I think Saturn was a cool car. It's a cool concept. I owned one. And,
in the later years, they really took off.
They did.
They could have been kept alive.
I think so.
By using the designs from the cool Opals and Volcos from Europe.
Yeah.
Don't import them over because tariffed and it jacks up the price. Because, the base Saturn Astra was going for almost as much as a GTI.
Yeah.
With 140 horsepower.
Which is crazy.
Stripper interiors.
Yeah.
That was a mess.
They could have done the same thing that Pontiac did with Holden.
Yeah.
Just rebadge it. It's the same car.
And just build them here.
Build them here. Yep.
Keep the price down.
Yep.
Because just my silly ideas again. I know the rear drive platform that Cadillac uses is better, but just think. They could have taken the Holden Commodore platform. And they were closing down the platform the plant. Rather,
that's right.
That the Impala was built in.
Yes.
They could have used that plant to build the Holden platform here.
Yep.
And just made cheap, fun, rear-wheel drive cars.
All day.
For everyone.
I think that's where Dodge kicked everybody's butts, right? Mm-hmm. They still building on a platform that was developed in 2007 or 2006.
It goes
the
back
E-Class.
even further.
Yeah.
90s E-Class.
Think about that. They've made so much money off the Charger and the Challenger, which I think are two. I don't care about the Charger because I think they use that name in vain in a way. But the Challenger, I give them credit. I mean, you look at the 60s, 70s Challenger, and you look at the Marauder one, I was like, that's a well-executed that's one of the ones I wanted to mention to say, hey, this is where a car maker had an amazing car. They killed it, and they brought it back, and it worked.
Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. I think the Charger is the same. Unfortunately, I think if you look at a Charger from the 60s and 70s and you look at the one now, it was still a success in name but not in execution. They couldn't do two coupes. It totally makes sense. So,
yeah.
My bonus car. Joel, are you ready for my bonus car?
Let's hear.
Honda S2K.
Oh, yeah.
Honda S2000. Honda just... they are extremely brilliant, but their leader or whatever, he just passed away. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the future, right? That was a car that Honda wasn't supposed to make, just like the NSX. And it's made them who they are because they made it. And then they kill them. And it's like, why would you kill that? And only built it for such a short period of time. A convertible, 2 liters, screaming... I don't understand why they don't have something like that now.
Just to tell you how you say they should have made it. Yeah. Just to give you an idea, they had a whole lineup of S platform roadsters.
Really?
But they all had engines under a liter. The biggest engine was 800 cc's. And so they did the S2000, and it just seemed like a total outlier because it was so big. The engine was so big, and it was so powerful compared to all the others. And they actually tried to right the ship a little bit. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe some people like it, but they've got the S660 in Japan.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a mid-engine. Yep, it's true.
So,
but it has a motorcycle engine in it, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's a 600 something cc turbo 3-cylinder.
Right.
But in a way, they've righted the ship. They're kind of back on the track of what the S cars were.
Okay.
And
fair.
They gave the Honda Beat a spiritual successor at the same time.
That's true. Because the Beat is amazing. Google the Honda Beat if you haven't seen it. It's such a cool car.
But
it's like the BMW Isetta.
But if maybe they could stretch the S660 a little bit.
Yeah.
Get a larger engine in there. That would be pretty nice for us. But it's not the classic FR.
It's not. That's
the bummer.
I would bring that car back. It's just one of those things where you say, does Honda think that car wouldn't sell? Does Honda think there's no place in the lineup for it? Is it too expensive to develop? You have to be kidding me. They have a glaring hole in their lineup. I mean, I think with the NSX going away again, right?
Yes.
I'm sure something else is in development. I'm sure it is, and we'll find out in Geneva in a couple of years. But I would love to see the S2000 reborn. It's been since 2009. So enough time has gone by that now nostalgia. You look at the values of S2000 now, a clean one. Oh my goodness. My friend bought one. I want to say it was pre-pandemic, so 2019, coming up on 4 years, maybe 3 years. I think he paid like $12,000 for it.
Oh, nice.
Clean, red. I think it's he bought that and an NSX within a year of each other. He has such a cool garage, and an M3 too. But anyway, he sold it a year and a half ago for $22,000.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's crazy. And I mean, some of it's the pandemic pricing went crazy. People have money, but I think they're still holding. You probably still have to pay around $20,000 for a clean one like he has.
Easily.
You know what I mean? So interesting. That's our list, guys. We would love to hear what you think. This is going to be on Apple and Spotify. So please, if you're listening to us on Apple, give us a review. Rate the podcast. Same thing on Spotify. Rank and review us there too. And Joel, I appreciate you coming, man. We'll definitely have to have you back. We'll talk about we got a few ideas, guys, some stuff we could talk about. Interesting stuff about cars. We'll nerd out on some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. The nerd is always there.
Before we go, tell our audience the pick that your mom had to bring back, which I think is so cool.
Okay. My mom's a car nerd too. She almost had my dad sold on a Datsun Z before I was born. And then she got pregnant with me, and that ruined the plan.
Not happening.
But I asked her just to consult last night and said, hey, what would you bring back? She said, the Jensen Interceptor.
How cool is Joel's mom? The Jensen Interceptor. That's super cool. Thanks for coming, Joel. We will see everybody in the next podcast. Peace.